When a rating agency released the world's top university rankings, it created a major controversy in India as none of our prime institutes like IITs figured in the top 200. It made everyone sit up, and even the President Pranab Mukherjee said urgent measures needed to be taken. The HRD ministry is reported to have hauled up the IITs, but for now, the first time, we have another explanation. IIT Kanpur has raised important questions today about the methodology. So are they right? Do the IITs need to wake up and face facts? That's on agenda today. I'm Sunetra Chaudhary. But first, before we go across to the IIT Kanpur director and also most likely Ben Sauter, the QS of QS who've done that rating agency, let's just look at how IIT Kanpur has doubted this ranking.
As India's premier institutions, the IITs failed to make it to the global top 200 institutions. IIT Kanpur rejected the ranking.
We have been ignoring to an extent. We never bothered to pay much attention to them. And in the process, what has happened is they have picked up data which are outdated. Many of our websites are not current. And they have used their own yardsticks and own evaluation process, which are, in my opinion, not at all correct.
In a list dominated by the likes of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and the Harvard, the IITs failed to figure in the top 200. IIT Kanpur ranks a poor 295 in the QS World University Rankings. IIT Delhi at 222, IIT Bombay at 233, IIT Madras at 313, and IIT Kharagpur at 346. Alarmed by the downgrade, the IITs have decided to step up efforts to be recognized internationally. But it comes at a cost. IIT Kanpur director claimed a rating agency demanded $1.5 lakh to be even considered for such evaluation. Do the IITs really need such a global fame? Students living their IIT dream feel an international certificate is not required.
The money could be used productively somewhere else also, but apart from that, the question is, do you really need to have so much money being involved in generating a ranking of universities?
If we think of foreign universities, they market themselves really well. If we want to focus, like we want to attract more people who doesn't know our name, so I think that will be necessary in those conditions only.
IITs and IIMs already top domestic education surveys, but with institutions seeking international recognition, are thousands of dollars a small price to pay for global brand identities. With camera person Rajesh Gupta and Arun Agarwal in Kanpur, this is Anand Zanane for NDTV.
So let's just go across to our guests, our Pandit this evening. First of all, let's just go to Professor, the head of IIT Kanpur, Professor Indranil Manna. Thank you for speaking with us, Professor Manna. You're making some important points then. If we can have our first talking point that we are raising on this show, if we go to that, basically what we're asking is IIT Kanpur deflecting the blame about falling rankings? Professor Manna?
Well, first of all, let me clarify. We never denounced anybody. We never rejected anything. All we said was that if we are to be part of any evaluation process, we should be told exactly about the parameters. We should be allowed to give the correct set of data, recent data, and we should be allowed to understand the rules of the game. Now, the whole process of this ranking business has got public awareness, and suddenly there's a huge interest in the media and elsewhere, because I personally feel because of the fact that the President of India, who happens to be our visitor to IIT system, he raised his concern. He even mentioned this in his speech as chief guest in our convocation. So we have taken note of it, and IIT Council has created a committee. That committee is now evaluating, talking to some of these agencies. There are many issues to be understood, many issues to be analyzed, and then we come up with a strategy. And I also would like to stand corrected that nowhere ever I alluded that this is completely a business proposition or anything of that sort. I certainly mentioned that these agencies have to run their own business, so they have to safeguard their business interests. Now it's up to us and IIT Council to decide whether we should be a part of it, but if they charge a fees, I certainly would require a direction from IIT Council whether I'm allowed to pay that fees to them at all.
And actually you're bringing up, and I want our next talking point to be, you're talking about that payment which many people have talked about as well, is that the payments to rating agencies. Sir, are you saying that that payment, how are the payments related to the agencies? Are you saying that that has any, because I also spoke, and that's actually the question that we are asking, I also spoke to the IIT Council chairman, Dr. Ananthakrishnan, and he seemed to suggest that the payment in a way seemed to be connected with the ratings, and that's something that's also been raised by various other international journals as well. In fact, New York Times talked about these ratings and how payments may be reflected to them in an article in December 2012.
Well, let me clarify. Professor Ananthakrishnan happens to be the Chairman Board of Governors of IIT Kanpur. Chairman of IIT Council is the Honorable Minister of Human Resource Development. And what Dr. Ananthakrishnan mentioned yesterday in the press meet of IIT Kanpur was in the passing that these agencies certainly seek fees for some of their products, some of their services, but it's not correct that you cannot be ranked unless you pay the fees. That's not correct. What actually matters to us is that when you are ranked, you should get a fair opportunity to provide the correct set of data. And one thing which we have discussed in IIT Council, I would like to reiterate that IITs were created to pursue excellence, and for that we should be open to scrutiny, and none of the IITs ever have said that we don't want to share data. But you also must realize that some of the parameters don't apply to us.